Hello, this is the STEBI video for the STEBI assignment for Module 1. So let's look at the STEBI assignment here briefly. First, we'll start by looking at the document that you will fill out. So I'm going to pull it up on Word here. You'll just click on this link and it will lead you to the document. You can either preview it on Canvas or you can download the document. I recommend that you download it, but that's up to you. The document looks like this. Now, the STEBI document, the first thing that you need to know is the document is what's called a highly vetted research instrument. And vetted really just means that it's been determined that it's very good. It's been statistically determined, actually, that it's very good at measuring what it was designed to measure. And in this case, the STEBI, it stands for Science Teaching Efficacy Beliefs Inventory. So that means it's designed to measure your self-efficacy when it comes to teaching science to elementary students. Self-efficacy basically means how do you feel about it? How effective do you think you'll be? So the instrument looks like what you see in front of you. You'll notice that there is a rating system from strongly agree to strongly disagree, with three things in the middle: agree, uncertain, and then disagree. So this is what's called a Likert scale. And there are 23 questions that are part of the STEBI, 1 through 23. You'll want to answer them just as honestly as you can. Now, this is not the type of instrument where once you think that, you notice that you're circling a lot of strongly agree, they won't all be strongly agrees and they won't all be strongly disagrees. Some of the items on here are worded positively and some are worded negatively. So by virtue of that alone, your ratings will sort of jump the line from strongly agree to strongly disagree. You should expect that when you go and do it. So pretty easily put, you'll read the statement, circle on this where you believe you fall on that continuum of strongly agree to strongly disagree regarding the statement that you read. When you're finished with that, the next part of doing the STEBI activity is you got to score it. And imagine being a researcher and scoring thousands of these. The scoring is very particular, so I'm going to take you through it briefly. And then if you have questions, you can either rewatch the video or you can email me, text me, or call me, and I'll walk you through it if there are questions that arise. But this is what the scoring looks like. There are 23 items on the STEBI. Well, the first thing that I want you to know is the scoring guide. It actually has a brief introduction to the STEBI that will tell you a little bit more about it, and it's really good stuff, actually. So I strongly recommend that you read it. It'll explain the theoretical framework for why the STEBI works and why it's an important instrument to use and kind of what it's designed to tell you. And then there's some conclusions. I'd read through this. It's about a page and a third of pretty good information for you to know. So once you read through that, then you'll get to about the center of page 2 of this document, and that's where you start scoring. So it's important to note there are 23 items on the STEBI instrument, 23 questions or statements that you'll circle, you're strongly disagree or strongly agree to, and where you fall in that continuum. Of those 23 items, they're designed to measure two things. Some of the questions are designed specifically to measure your self-efficacy. And this article will explain really what that is, what self-efficacy is. Some of the items are designed to measure your outcome expectancy. Those are two slightly different things. They're related, but they're definitely different. And you'll want to make sure you measure this accurately so that you figure out where am I on both of those. So the first thing you need to do with the scoring, you'll notice there's a step 1. Step 1 actually has 2 parts. So the first part is right here up top. And what it tells you is the following list of items, these 10 items right here, item 3 to item 23, and the ones listed in between, so there's 10 of them, those items need to be scored in this manner. So strongly agree will be given a value of 1, a numeric value of 1, and then agree a 2, uncertain 3, and you'll go up from there. So you'll start from left to right with that strongly agree they'll get a 1. Strongly disagree will be given a 5, a score of 5. Then you move on to part 2 of step 1, and you take the other 13 items on the STEBI. So this is 10 items here. There's 23 total. So the other 13 items that are not on this list of 10, you score reverse from that. So a strongly agree now becomes a 5, all the way down to a strongly disagree, which gets a value of 1. So the very first thing you want to do is just give a numeric value to everything on that list. We'll give a numeric value to everything on this list first on a scale from 1 to 5. Then you'll do all the other items, which is another 13 of them, on a scale of 5 to 1. So you just reverse the numbers. Once you've done that, then you should move on to step 2. If you don't do both of these things before you move on to step 2, you will be seriously confused and your numbers will come out wrong. So it's important that you do this part first, then do this part, and then you're ready to move on to step 2. Step 2, this is where it gets really fun. Step 2 is to calculate your self-efficacy score from the STEBI. There are 13 items that were designed strictly. Some of those were scored one way and some were scored another way, but that's not important anymore because we've already given a numeric value. Now we're looking strictly at the questions that are sort of scattered throughout the questions, the 23 that make up the entire list. There are 13 of them that are designed specifically to measure your self-efficacy. So now what you'll want to do is, what I would recommend is take a second color of ink and go through and circle only these items on this list, circle the numeric value that they got. So they were given a numeric value somewhere between a 1 and 5 or 5 and 1. Whichever one it was, go and circle those values in a specific color of ink. So for example, you might grab a red pen and go to number 2, find your numeric value that you gave that question or that statement and circle that number. Do that for every item on this list. That's 13 items. Then, if you read further, you're going to see all you have to do, super simple, you're going to add up the total scores from just these 13 items that are on this list. Notice this is a different list from this one. This list was all about the negatively worded questions versus positive and just getting the score correct for them, or the numeric value. Now this list, these are items specifically designed to measure your self-efficacy. With this list of items, you'll add up all 13 of them, and to get an average, you just divide that larger number now by 13. So you're going to get the average of these 13 item scores. That is going to give you a number somewhere between 1 and 5. That's your self-efficacy score. It might be a 2.5, it might be a 3.7, but it's going to be somewhere between that 1 and 5. Okay, then you're done with self-efficacy. Now you move on to step 3, which is calculating your outcome expectancy. You actually do it exactly the same way you did self-efficacy, except you do it with only these 10 items. You probably know now that these 13, since they're for self-efficacy, these 10 are the other 10 items on the entire list of 23. So what I would do, grab a third color of ink. Maybe you used blue in the beginning, then you did red. Now I'd grab a black pen or a highlighter maybe, and somehow circle or highlight these 10 items scores. So they each have an individual number applied to them. Circle or highlight that number. You move on to part A. Part A says you're going to add all of these up, and then you're going to divide by 10 because there's 10 items here. So to get the average, add the 10 items up, then divide by 10. That's going to give you an average score, again, between 1 and 5. That is your outcome expectancy score. Obviously, for self-efficacy, a higher number means that you have a higher self-efficacy score, or it means that you're feeling just a little more confident about the idea of teaching young kids about science. With the outcome expectancy, a higher score, it's probably better. It means that you feel better about the prospect of if you do well, your students are going to do well. That's basically what that outcome expectancy means. I would record both of these scores on this form right here. And then there's a definition for self-efficacy and outcome expectancy. That is recorded in the, not recorded, but it's in this document here. So you'll want to read the document because it explains to you what those two things are. I would go ahead and write those down. It'll kind of help you when you go to take the quiz to know what those definitions are. So that's the scoring for the STEBI. Now, last but not least, certainly not least, there are 2 articles here that you'll want to read before you take this quiz, the quiz for Module 1, or quiz number 1. First, you'll do the STEBI document, then you'll score it. Then 2 articles. One is on self-efficacy, and the other is on this thing called PCK, which stands for Pedagogical Content Knowledge. Now, I won't go too deeply into that because the article really does a nice job. It's a very quick read. Both of these actually are very quick reads. Once you've put all that together, you're ready to take quiz 1. So complete the STEBI, follow the scoring guide for it, read these 2 articles, you're ready for quiz 1. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, I'm always available by phone, text, or email. I'm sure you're going to do very well with it, but if you do have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'll talk to you later.